The Young and the Restless spoilers full episodes Fridays, October 4th, 2024. It was a calm morning on the river when a local fisherman noticed something peculiar. Amid the flowing water, a large white bag bobbed up and down, slowly making its way downstream. At first, he thought it might be some abandoned garbage, a piece of debris from the city. But as he got closer, his heart began to race. Something about the way it floated, it wasn't just a bag. He reached out, grabbed hold of it, and pulled it to the shore. What he found inside made his blood run cold. The body of a woman, her pale, lifeless face half covered by the folds of the bag, her hair matted and tangled from the water, lay still. The fisherman's hands shook as he fumbled for his phone. Within moments, the call to the police had been made, and within hours, they were on the scene. When the authorities arrived, they carefully extracted the body from the water, and the grim task of identification began. It wasn't long before the truth came crashing down on everyone. The victim was Heather. Heather Stevens, Daniel's wife. The news spread fast, and soon enough, Daniel was called to the scene. Daniel could feel the weight of the world pressing down on his chest as he approached the riverbank. The officers gave him space, allowing him a moment to process what he was about to face. When the tarp covering the body was gently lifted, his breath caught in his throat. There, in front of him, was Heather. Her once vibrant eyes now closed forever, her skin pale and bruised from whatever horror she had endured. The shock hit him like a freight train. His knees almost buckled, but he forced himself to stay upright. He had to be strong, at least for the moment. He knew what he had to do. With trembling hands, Daniel confirmed what he already knew deep in his heart. This was his wife, his Heather, his love, his world. He had to make the calls. He had to inform everyone. Paul, the rest of the family, and most importantly, Lucy, his little girl. How would he explain this to her? How could he even begin to find the words? Lucy had already lost so much, and now she was about to lose her mother. Daniel's voice wavered as he called her, and though he tried to stay calm, the pain in his voice was unmistakable. Heather's body was carefully taken away for examination, but Daniel had other things to think about. He was already planning her final resting place. Heather deserved a beautiful cemetery, somewhere peaceful, somewhere serene, where Lucy could visit her mother and remember the good times. It was the least he could do for the woman who had been his rock, his partner, and the mother of his child. While Daniel focused on giving Heather the farewell she deserved, the police wasted no time launching a full-scale investigation. The scene at the river was combed over meticulously for any potential evidence, any clue that might point them in the right direction. Every detail, no matter how small, was scrutinized. The first major question came quickly. Where was Heather's phone? It wasn't with her body, and that raised red flags immediately. Whoever had killed her had likely taken the phone to cover their tracks. In today's world, phones were treasure troves of information. Messages, calls, locations, everything. If they could find the phone, they might be able to find the killer. Daniel, despite his grief, remembered one critical detail. He had installed a tracking app on Heather's phone. It had been a simple precaution, something for peace of mind, but now it could be the key to unlocking the mystery of her murder. The app had GPS tracking, and if the phone was still out there, they might be able to find it. The problem was that the tracker wouldn't activate unless the phone was turned on. All they could do now was wait, hoping that whoever had it would eventually power it up. As days passed, Daniel's sorrow turned into a burning desire for justice. He had lost Heather, but he wasn't going to lose the fight to find her killer. His heart ached with grief, but his mind was laser-focused on the goal, uncovering the truth. Every night, he replayed the events leading up to her disappearance in his head, searching for anything, any small clue that he might have missed. Who could have done this? Who would want to hurt Heather? Paul, leading the investigation, was relentless in his pursuit of answers. He and his team began interviewing anyone who had been in Heather's life in the days leading up to her death. They dug into her work, her friends, her routines. They checked surveillance footage from the places she frequented, and they spoke with neighbors and colleagues. Each interview, each lead, brought them closer to the truth, but it also revealed a web of secrets Heather had been keeping. Heather's life, it seemed, wasn't as simple as Daniel had believed. There were people she had interacted with, people who had reasons to be upset with her. Business dealings that had soured, personal relationships that had been strained. And then there was Sharon. A name that kept coming up, a woman with a complicated history with both Daniel and Heather. But was she really capable of murder? Paul and his team were cautious, knowing they couldn't jump to conclusions without concrete evidence. They had to be thorough, and they had to be sure. But Daniel wasn't as patient. He was certain that Sharon had something to do with it. There was no other explanation that made sense to him. His gut told him that Sharon was involved, and he wouldn't rest until she was behind bars. Or worse. As the investigation progressed, the police finally got the break they had been waiting for. The signal from Heather's phone came alive. Someone had turned it on. The GPS coordinates showed it was moving, and the police quickly dispatched a team to track it down. Daniel watched anxiously as they closed in on the location. His heart pounded in his chest, a mixture of fear and hope swirling within him. This could be it. This could be the moment they found the person responsible for tearing his life apart. When the police arrived at the location, it wasn't what they expected. The phone was found in an abandoned car, dumped on the side of the road. There was no sign of the person who had been using it. But the phone itself was a goldmine of information. Inside, they found messages, calls, and data that would lead them one step closer to the truth. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to come together, but the final picture was still unclear. Daniel's mind raced as he considered the possibilities. Would he be able to face the truth when it finally came out? Could he handle knowing who had taken Heather away from him and Lucy? Whoever the killer was, Daniel was determined to see justice served. He owed it to Heather, to Lucy, and to himself. With Paul by his side, Daniel clung to the hope that they would find the killer and that, somehow, justice would be served. Tucker and Ashley are definitely potential characters to stir up tension in Genoa City, especially with their complicated relationship. The current storyline, revolving around Heather's tragic death and the investigation surrounding it, is clearly taking center stage. The writers have chosen to delve deeper into the tragedy and Daniel and Paul's journey to find out the truth, creating tension and drama. This makes bringing Tucker and Ashley back in the present day a distraction from the main events. However, as the story of Heather's death comes to a close, and Sharon may face jail time, it could be the perfect time to bring Tucker and Ashley back. Their return could bring some interesting confrontations and new drama to Genoa City. The writers seem to be timing their appearance well, and when the time comes, Tucker and Ashley will certainly have conflicting situations, especially when it comes to power, family, and business conflicts. The appearance of Ashley, with her strong and decisive personality, combined with Tucker, who has a complicated and conspiratorial history, will bring a breath of fresh air, promising new and exciting storylines. Certainly, waiting to see their return is not easy, especially when the audience is very familiar with the drama they bring. However, this can increase the excitement, because the longer you wait, the more explosive their return will be.